Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. In this video I'll be going through the first official practice game that we had last night between the Geelong Cats and the Essendon Bombers, and how I think there needs to be a tempering of probably a little bit of an overreaction, as we know generally these scores are more outside based than inside. I can tell you right now, just looking at the stats here, I just want to bring up the average contested balls won by teams in the last season, and just sort of give you that, and then show you why I think it's a little bit in general, why it was a little bit more uncontested than contested. The average AFL was for contested possessions was 131.2 per game, and if we look at the team stats here, I don't know if it will show me on this, in this game it was actually dead on that, but the uncontested possessions was about, if I just show you guys here, let's look at this here, you'll see the average uncontested possessions, well the game was that's 284, 514, so 257. If we look at that, that would be the highest uncontested possessions by 16 on Essendon itself. We had 241 usually, so they're up 38, and yeah, so they're up massively on their contested possession, and well, they're up 9 on their contested possession and a good solid 38 on their uncontested possessions. That's a good solid 50 possessions more than what they have usually. And I just want to show you as well the differences of possession as well. The opposing averages for possession. You'll see here, if we look at this in terms of Geelong give up 219, and wait, no, that's the wrong one. I want this one. I want this one here. So Geelong give up roughly 136 and 217. If we look here, 138 and 279, so there's just, a plus 60 uncontested possessions on what usually is given up by Geelong. And then Essendon as well is, 126 and 235. So Essendon, where are they? They are at, I'm missing them, am I? Where are they? Here they are. Their league average here, 129 and 218. So Geelong were plus about 16. So roughly, the contested possessions itself was roughly on par, but the uncontested possessions was up by about 40, 50, 60 across both teams, etc. So that shows to me that one, and like I said, that might be a little bit confusing, because I said that it's a more uncontested game, even though the contested possessions are the same, but it's the ratio of contested possessions to uncontested possessions that is wildly out, or to a certain extent, they're at least 5% out. So yeah, that's what I mean by that. If you look at the hitouts, 30 to 39, this will probably give you a more indication of it. 30 to 39, if you actually look at that, it's 37.7 is the average. So that would be 75 hitouts in general, and we got 69, so that's a little bit below league average. And we know that Essendon 33 and Geelong 45 opposing averages. Sorry, let me actually go at the let's actually go here to hitouts here. So league average still that. You've got Essendon here getting 38 and Geelong getting 37. So we're about the 7 or so hitouts below, and I think the tackles is probably the other one that's going to show it, because whereas tackles 35 to 51. And let's go to tackles here. AFL average is 60 tackles per game per team. We fell, 33 tackles short. That's, let me just do the quick maths for you. That is a roughly 27% short of normal tackle numbers, I believe. 27% short of normal regular tackle numbers. Obviously this will get more numbers as we go through pre-season, but I just wanted to preface that a whole 3 or 4 minutes just showing you how uncontested this game was. And I can tell you right now that Geelong, I think, had quite a few tackles in the last quarter, I want to say, and so it was a very, very, even more so uncontested game than probably what should have been. If I just bring up the tackles here, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, They had 12 of their 35 tackles in the last quarter. They were on 23 tackles at three-quarter time, which on average they were doing about half of what they should be. But anyway, let's go to the player stats. I know I've done enough of tangent on that. So one thing I think you need to realize as well with this is that player scores aren't going to be fully reflective. Some players are going first gear. Some players have low TOG as well. You'll see that with things, and then I also will point out a couple of players had massive last quarters because of the uncontested nature of the game, especially in the especially second half. So Myers, 30 touches, 1 goal, 116. He's a great player, great small forward. He's probably going to be in and around that F6, F8 area in the end of year, but just no upfront value from what I've seen. Ben Hobbs, 116. This one was a surprise. I think he's in the 490k for range for fantasy, if I remember correctly. Let's just go here. 498k for Hobbs. I can actually probably just do this better here. Hobbs here, 498k, 21-year-old. Could this be his breakout year? Not too certain about it. I think Sardis probably gets that midfield role over him. If we look at these CBAs, you can see Sardis attending 26 compared to Hobbs 23. And so, yeah, I just wonder if Hobbs necessarily has that role or whether this is just a, flash in the pan type of score. It's just an outlier. Harrison Jones, 27 touches, 12 marks on a wing. This is just a wing flare-up score. I'm going to tell you right now, he's not going to do this regularly. Nick Martin was an interesting one, the one that I probably want to look more into. 2 goals, 112. 2 goals is probably a little bit, is probably covering over a little bit. But 83% TOG, I feel like is a little bit low for the likes of Nick Martin. So I'd have to look at that again, but yeah, he is a guy that is potential to be in F1 if this role continues and he gets that forward status, because I could easily see him getting 25 touches a game, 7 or 8 marks a game in that half space in the forward half of the ground. So yeah, I have a feeling Nick Martin could be in that F1 to 6 category, like top end forwards for fantasy. It just might not be necessarily value to select him with the opening round and knowing that he has the subsequent bye. But yeah, it would be definitely interesting. Andy McGrath, don't go down that path, put it that way. He is going to be, and I don't know if he had any CBAs. He had 7 CBAs. Why are they doing that? But he's just not going to be value, I don't think. Jeremy Cameron, 103. He's going to be there or thereabouts, I feel like, but he's very gold. He can have very quiet games, and he is very mark dependent. Sorry, not goal dependent. Very, very mark dependent on his score, and 11 marks is not replicable. And this is where the uncontested nature of the game can come out. Dylan Shield, 102. I thought this was probably a more realistic sort of stat line. I feel like he definitely is a guy that could be very much so a guy that we look at in terms of that M4, M5 area, probably M4, I would think. So yeah, if you do go lighter in the midfield, he could be very, very valuable because he can be shifted into that D5, D6 when DPP rolls around, because he's going to get that halfback role. We saw how Nick Martin did it as well. He's not the best by foot. If we look at the advanced stats, I don't think his numbers were too good. 69% with 22 uncontested possessions isn't the greatest. Like Nick Martin went at 77, so there is a little bit of a difference there, I should say. But his was a lot more realistic. There isn't a massive... the max is 7, but it's not up there in that like 10, 11, 12 range where it's going to come down. He's going to have poor games. But if he does put out another 102 in the opening round, I think a lot of people will shift Day on to him, because unless Day does even better, because Shield fixes a lot of problems that we're potentially going to have with the rookies not scoring well enough in the back line. Brian, 97, this guy's probably the first guy that I have to reference in terms of the last quarter that he had. If we look at this last quarter, 64 points, 1 goal, 10 touches, all kicks, 7 marks and 7 tackles. If you remove that last quarter, because the last quarter can be a little bit not really playable. Not playable, but more so just sort of not really realistic. You take that out through 3 quarters he had, and I know that he didn't play as much in the first. I don't know if he played much in the first quarter. Let's actually just double check that. DMP'd the first quarter, but if you take that out, and basically in half of footy had 7 touches, 5 kicks, 2 handballs, and then 2 marks and 7 hit outs for the equivalent of 33 and a half of footy. Probably not the greatest showing, I would think, in terms of that, and just had a massive last quarter. Bose, I thought, was really good early on. He got away pretty quickly. So there's that. Let me just bring up what was his stats early. In the first quarter, 11 touches, second quarter, 10 touches, and then third quarter, 7, and then only 3 in the last quarter. So he did a lot of his work early on when the game was still live. So that was good. Langford, key forward, not going to do much. Elijah Sardis, 31 touches, really good. Non-disposal work not being there is probably not the greatest, but 10 clearances, he went absolutely huge. Thought he was one of the better ones on the ground. If we go to, let's just go here. And also you can see his Hobbs for, I think, less touches, more turnovers, more clangers. That's a little bit poor, and probably more helps out Sardis a little bit that he was a little bit cleaner there with more touches of the footy. As you see here, Hobbs had 2 less touches for 4 more turnovers and 4 more clangers, if my maths memory is correct. So that's really good to see Sardis up there. Draper, 82, just not valuable, I don't think, but I think he shows a consensus, him and Brian, that the Geelong ruck is going to be a valuable ruck to play against. Kako, 4 goals. So his is just going to be, I think, for me, around 0 score dependent. The role is basically what we thought. But if you take out that 4 goals, because he's not going to score 4 goals regularly, let's put it that way, then that suddenly gets down to, 24 off. That's suddenly a 57. I think he's a guy that's going to average between 55 and 60, which is still a pretty good average. It's just, is there going to be a guy that's going to have a better role, etc.? Is Kako going to have a sort of a really poor score built in? So if he has say he just has a really shocker in round 0 and goes 30, there is absolutely no point starting him on your bench at that F7, because there's just no value there. You might as well just have another guy there fresh with a 20-something break even, because Kako is going to go up 5k, and that's not really an advantage of opening round as much as someone like an Angarov who could score a 70, say, or Corey Warner who might score a 60, etc. like that. You're really looking for that 60 or 70 score from that small forward in round 0 to go. That's what we saw out of Seth Campbell, I believe, last year. Gresham, Max Holmes was in first gear, 74% TOG. Zach Reid did a lot of his work in the last quarter, 43 points in the last quarter. But then again, I thought he was pretty good throughout the night. That's still 32 and 3 quarters, and we're just looking for scores, honestly. So obviously if he scores like a really poor score in round 0, you're probably going to shift over to someone else. But he is a guy that looks really good job security wise, and yeah, so I'm pretty happy about that he was at least getting involved in the non-disposal work and to get up to 18 touches in the end of all of it. I just want to bring up his stats in the last quarter, so that he had 6 kicks, 4 marks, 3 tackles in the last quarter, which if you take that away, he had in the end 12 touches and 2 marks in the first 3 quarters, of which 5 of them were 5 kicks, 7 handballs, and 2 marks in the first 3 quarters, 15, 14, so that's 29, 35, am I right in saying that? And then he might have had a free kick for and against, etc. That probably didn't help him out he had a free kick against as well, so he was down at that 32, as I said. Durham, I thought was really good. 22 touches in the end, and if I remember correctly, he didn't have to do too much in the last quarter. Let's just bring up his stats. 16 points in the last quarter, so he wasn't really inflated. First quarter, 23. Second quarter, 13. Third quarter, 22. So he was sitting on, if we look at that, he was sitting on 58 at 3/4 time, which is a pretty good start line. We want those sort of mid-70s with the guy. 77% TOG, you probably expect it to be a little bit higher, as well as it was an uncontested game, and he's more of that, with the stature that he is, I would expect him to be more of a tackler, so I expect that tackle number to go up a little bit more. So he's definitely on the watch list for that M6 role, as we know the rookies aren't probably that good this year in terms of the depth of non-sub-risk players in that rookie class. So it looks like, especially with Jagger going down, so it looks like Nevitt, Sheldrick, especially with Mills going down. If you've missed that news, Mills is out till round 3 with a tear in his plantar fasciitis. So yeah, that means that Nevitt, Nod, Sheldrick, all those guys in that sort of upper rookie range or underpriced mid prices are in vogue in that M6, I guess, at the moment. You can see that video on my midfield structure that's suddenly coming back, I guess now. Merritt 73, he was in first gear. Atkins, Stengel, Dersma, Henry. Pryor was an interesting one, 63 points. This is one that I'm looking at in terms of, because of SDK didn't impress me too much, I would like to see how Pryor goes, and he did score 20 in the last quarter, so it was a little bit high, but still 43 and 3/4. Could there be a role there? 78% TOG. It'll be interesting. That'll probably be round 0 dependent for Jackson Pryor. Let's get this back up. And then you've got Stewart 62. We did a lot of work in the first quarter, I think, from memory. He might have even sat. Let's actually just look at it. Yeah, like in the last quarter, I can tell you Holmes scored 2, Merritt scored 4. And where is Stewart? Stewart scored 13. So in the first quarter, Stewart had 17, second quarter 8, third quarter 24, and then 13 in the last. So he was on 49 at 3/4 time. Not the best, but we know he was just riding it through. Dempsey, Blickars, Neil. I didn't like how Neil and Blickars were taking it with De Koning in the ruck, and we know that the ruck was a little bit down in terms of the ruck contest. I feel like that's just the way it was. So I didn't like this combination here, even without Stanley there. So I'm probably finding a solution to the Sam De Koning problem now, which is not the best. Didn't really like Jai Clark did pretty well, but I'm pretty sure this was all last quarter, if I remember correctly. Let's just look at it. Jai Clark, 18 points in the last quarter. So he played third quarter, he had 10 touches, 37 points, and then in the last quarter, 4 touches for 18. So he had only the second half for a 55. Probably played in the VFL, I'd hazard a guess there. Archie Roberts 53. Will Setterfield probably only played a half there, given 44%. So 49 for him. Dangerfield 70% for a 47, etc. A lot of these guys only played a half. I know that Jai Caldwell only played a half there. Then yeah, you can just see all these guys basically didn't do anything, and we know Connor O'Sullivan 10 points probably doesn't look the greatest, but he did play in the VFL earlier, so he's probably absolutely knackered and only played in the first half of it. So I think that's a good ending point. That we need to just be careful who we look at in terms of their TOG, their role, who was missing, and are they an outside or an inside player, because that's going to be sort of more dependent on their scoring. But also with these 2 sides and the other 6 sides that play in opening round, we get that free look in for what their first price mark is going to what their first score is going to be, and how that's going to potentially move their first price change, I guess you would say. But anyway, that is the video there. If you did enjoy it, remember to like and subscribe, turn the notification bell on so you know when I upload. If you are listening on Spotify, give me a follow and a rating over there, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.